watching Bengals Breakdown by Chat Sports, and I'm your host, Stone Shields. Coming up on today's show, we're going to be breaking down some roster moves that Cincinnati has made here on Sunday, July 20th, and kind of interesting. Several guys that they are signing. One guy that I think potentially could mess around and make this Cincinnati Bengals roster coming out of training camp. Talk about the other pieces as well. Somebody was released and somebody was waived additionally as well today for Cincinnati as they get ready to really hit the ground running come Wednesday when everybody shows up and their training camp really gets underway. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button if you haven't done so already. It's youtube.com/BengalsTV. We'll have you covered throughout the entirety of Bengals training camp and, of course, the preseason. You got a preseason game here in a couple of weeks. And the guys that we're going to be talking about on today's show, they're certainly going to showcase their abilities and play a lot in the preseason. So we'll be having plenty of videos for you guys all throughout preseason, training camp as well. We're trying to hit that 20,000 subscriber mark before the end of training camp. So help us out. Hit that sub button for me right now, youtube.com/BengalsTV. Now, the name that everybody probably knows, of course, is Desmond Ritter. So Cincinnati is signing Desmond Ritter, the former UC standout at quarterback, and mixed thoughts on this. I think one thing that immediately comes to mind is it's an upgrade, right? The guy that was released is Logan Woodside. Nothing against Woodside. You hear good things, coming from, Brad Craigthorpe and those guys offensively really like what Woodside was able to bring to the room. You saw him really be a tough guy, right? Some of the preseason games past couple of years that it necessarily go his way. Was the offense functional enough with him at the helm? No. Granted, he's got other backups that he's working with as well. But he's a tough dude. And, look, you're going to get a bit of an upgrade there with Desmond Ritter over Logan Woodside. Obviously, Ritter has played a little bit in the league. Has it gone well? No, but he has valuable experience starting. Got some in Atlanta and a little bit in Las Vegas as well. So now he is going to be a Cincinnati Bengal, and I was, kind of expecting here when we were thinking about doing this video that, okay, it was going to be kind of a competition between Ritter and Woodside, but that's not the case. The Bengals have released Woodside, and it looks like that QB3 job is Desmond Ritter's there for the taking. Now, I think some people, people that really are into what Desmond Ritter was able to accomplish at UC, which was certainly tremendous, and we'll spend a little time talking about that. But I think some people might think that there's a competition as far as Joe Burrow's backup goes. I don't think there is. It's Jake Browning's job. This is just another depth piece in Desmond Ritter. But let me know. Pick a quarterback 2 for me in the comment section. Type DR for Desmond Ritter or JB for Jake Browning. Get those thoughts for me at the pinned comment of today's show. Should be a lot of JBs. To me, it's Browning all the way as far as the backup goes. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section of today's show. Ritter, of course, was a phenomenal quarterback for UC, right? He, helped orchestrate an undefeated team that ultimately went to the college football playoff before losing to Alabama. The best team UC really has had in recent memory, one of the best teams of all time for UC football. So there definitely is a connection between part of the city and Desmond Ritter because they are really appreciative of what he was able to do. Look, Ritter's got good qualities, right? You hear great things about him as a leader. He's got high football IQ. Now, when I see him out in NFL games, he just doesn't look like an NFL quarterback to me. That's okay. He's trying to carve out a career as a backup, and that's this Cincinnati here is this next step. But I don't see him in a position where he can go out there and outduel Jake Browning in the preseason. And the Bengals don't even like giving Browning a ton of time in the preseason because they want to have him if something were to happen to Joe Burrow in the season. But Bengals signing Desmond Ritter, it's a big name. Especially around here in Cincinnati, right? Because, of course, he played his college football at the University of Cincinnati. A couple other moves that I do want to discuss here on today's show. The Bengals are also signing McKelvin Egum, we'll call him. Sorry if I'm butchering that name, but he's a guy that was a former highly touted guy, right? He was a third-round pick at one point in his career, and things, for whatever reason, haven't fully, worked out for him. He spent the past couple of years. He was with the Broncos. He was with the Colts. Spent some time with the Texans, the Titans as well. So he's kind of been a bit of a journeyman over the past several years. He was drafted in 2020 in the third round, played SEC ball at Arkansas, but he really isn't the guy that my ears perk up a little bit when you see that signing. I think he's just kind of a body. Again, McKelvin Egum, we'll say is his last name, but yeah, I think it would be a shock if ultimately he were able to make this football team. Another signing for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, this one is very interesting. Taven Bryan is another guy that Cincinnati is signing. And this is a guy that was a former first-round pick back in 2018. Played his college ball at Florida. Lots of people had high expectations for what, he was going to be able to do as far as his NFL career goes. He was drafted originally by Jacksonville, spent some time in Cleveland, past couple of years with the Colts. He's a guy that plays through injury. We saw him. He appeared in all 17 games last year for Indianapolis, but he plays that defensive tackle spot, which kind of buried the lead there a little bit. Obviously, is a position of need for the Cincinnati Bengals, and we kind of talk about, okay, you got B.J. Hill and T.J. Slaton. You got your sophomores coming in, and McKinnley Jackson, Kris Jenkins Jr. What do things look like beyond that, right? You got a lot of UDFAs, and you got your international pathway player as well, but now you're bringing in a guy that was a former first-round pick and can play that spot. So Taven Bryan is going to have an opportunity to potentially make this roster for the Cincinnati Bengals, and I think personally that is really significant, because if you can get a guy that can come in there at the defensive tackle position and have opportunity to help your football team, that's something Cincinnati needs, because really all along the defensive line it's been a struggle for them the past couple of seasons. But let me know if you think Taven Bryan is going to make the Cincinnati Bengals roster when they ultimately release their first 53-man roster. Let me know what you think. Type Y for yes or N for no. Is Taven Bryan making this roster for Cincinnati? And I do want to add one more thought onto Taven Bryan as well. B.J. Hill, when we saw him at the offseason workout, those OTAs and whatnot, he was in a boot, so we don't really know exactly what his status looks like at this point. He was banged up a little bit this offseason. Could they have perhaps brought in another guy because they know that, they need a guy picking up reps if B.J. Hill isn't going to be able to be ready to all-out go in training camp? That's definitely something to monitor, but of course the Bengals recently gave Hill a new contract, and he is back, and he's certainly going to have to be a lot better this coming season for Cincinnati. And the last guy that they also brought in and signed is Andrew Raym, and he's an undrafted guy, played collegiately at Oklahoma, was with the Carolina Panthers last year, and it's a guy that can compete at that center spot. And, it'd be interesting to see how he kind of gets phased in, right? See a guy that if he's going to make this team, no. But as far as, a guy that can go out there and get reps once a guy like, I don't know, if you're late in a ball game and you want to test out what you have in Matt Lee at center. If Seth McLaughlin is in a situation where, he can get back and show you what he can do a little bit. There are reports that McLaughlin isn't going to be fully ready to go once training camp really gets underway on Wednesday. But we'll see. Kind of interesting they brought in a center because I think they feel good about what they have in Matt Lee and Seth McLaughlin, but they're going to test things out with Andrew Raym as well. So those are all the signings that Cincinnati made here today, and kind of interesting because, two pretty big signings, I would say. Ritter is obviously a big name, and then, of course, Taven Bryan as well as a guy as a former first-round pick. As I mentioned, Logan Woodside has been released, and Tashawn Manning, guard, that was kind of practice squad guy out of Kentucky, he was waived as well. So it'll be interesting to see kind of how this all plays out as far as who's going to make the roster, who's not, who's going to be on the practice squad, who's not. But definitely wanted to bring that to your guys' attention as there were several noteworthy roster moves made by Cincinnati here on Sunday.